Hello, BookTube. I have a tag for you on this dark, pouring rain day in Boston. It's an original tag created by Adrian at Stripcover Lit, and he tagged me. It's the Nosy Librarian Tag, which is built all around nosy questions the librarian might ask. And number one, of course, is what is the most influential library in your life? And a part of me, for historical reasons, just wanted to say the Boston Athenaeum, which is an absolutely gorgeous, old, private library here in Boston. But if we're going to name the spot as number one, if we're going to say the most influential, then it's going to have to be the Boston Public Library in Copley Square. Specifically the old building, the McKim, Mead and White building, rather than there's a new building, a modern brutalist structure that was built right behind it to function as the actual library. And the old library became sort of a research library, old wooden meeting rooms, the rare books, the readings, stuff like that. The old building is the one I'm thinking of, and it was my home forever and ever. Just, I know every nook and cranny of it. And the place in it that I love the most is Bates Hall, which is the big reading hall with green banker's lamps all along the wooden tables and huge windows. And it's amazing. When you stand at the top of Bates Hall and you look at it, you'll be blown away. And then when you realize that this room is yours free to use at any time, it's all the more amazing. It underscores how wonderful libraries are. So I think number one would probably have to go to the Boston Public Library. I have worked in Bates Hall in all the seasons and moods of my life. I have done a huge amount of work there. I don't go there anymore simply because I can't rationalize leaving my little dog just to do things that I could easily do while I'm here. So I don't really do it anymore. Although I mean to correct that. I mean not to go to Bates Hall and just sit and work for hours on end. But I do mean to correct never going to the library. I can go to the. I have plenty of use for older books. Plenty of call for older but still relatively comparatively recent books that I don't need. I don't need to be forever asking other book reviewers or editors or publicists if they can send me a free copy of those books, put them through the mail and all the trouble. I can get into the habit of finding some of those things, some of those backlist items at the library. I know plenty of fellow critics who do that. And I love the library. So I'm in 2019, I am determined to do that. Not when there's 2 solid inches of plate ice on the ground everywhere, so that every small step runs the risk of you falling and breaking every bone in your body. But under normal circumstances, yes. But anyway, so number one is going to be the Boston Public Library, which I am determined to show you all. I'll take a camera and show you the Boston Public Library. In 2019, I will do that. Number two, honest assessment. What will they title your biography? I have no idea what they will title my biography. I am pretty good at coming up with titles. And once, years ago, I sent around to my group of readers at the time a list of 10 possible topics, subjects that I would do next. And they got to vote on what the next thing I would write. And it was before the internet, it was before computers. I typed it and I mailed it to them all. And I made them determine what the next thing would be. And one of those choices was my autobiography up to that point. And the title I chose for it was Odd Dog. And I still like that. So as a biography, I wouldn't mind that, but I won't get to choose. So, question number 3, the story from your life that you hope your librarian never finds out. Well, BookTube. I have about half a dozen of such stories, but I don't want my librarian to know. I'm not going to tell YouTube. Now am I? Let's just move on, shall we? Question number 4, what is your favorite word? I presume this means in English. My favorite, just for the sound of it, my favorite word is the word for left in Spanish. But if we talk about English, my favorite word perhaps would be buffet, especially if it's preceded by 3 other words. Question number 5 is 2 parts. First is 3 weird things you're afraid of. And I know I'm going to get raspberries here from the cheap seats, but I thought about this and I honestly do not have an answer. All the things that I'm afraid of are things that it's not weird to be afraid of. I'm afraid of spiders, but not a spider that crawls out of the sink here at Hyde Cottage, no matter how big it is. No, or what color it is. But no matter how small or drably colored, I am afraid of a spider that I might encounter, for instance, in sub-Saharan Africa or in the jungles of South America, and it would be reasonable to be afraid of such a thing. My fears, I don't have any fear where I would say, oh my God, that freaks me out. Sorry, I know it's crazy. I don't have anything like that. So I don't think I can answer the first part of this question. And the second part is even weirder. The second part makes me wonder what kinds of things Adrian thinks when he goes to the library. Because the second part is, name a way you would prefer not to die. And I thought about this for a bit, and my answer would be the same as Eowyn's is in the Lord of the Rings movies, where she says that she's not afraid of the Dark Lord or of fighting and dying in battle. She's afraid of wearing out, being worn out with time and boredom and custom until she no longer cares about the bars of her cage. I feel the same way. I don't want to reach a point in my life where I am boring and useless to myself and everyone else, where I'm just this warehoused body. I don't want to reach that point at all. And I don't see much of a way to avoid it, except for ways that are currently illegal. Because the United States demographic, which is growing older all the time, has yet to really grapple with a legal restructuring of how we think about the end of life. And it really needs to happen, because, you know, the country is getting older. All of us are going to have to worry about this. I walk on my route to the Christian Science Monitor, I walk past a senior center, what we call a senior center, and I see people just sitting on chairs in the windows. No one ever visits them. No one ever talks to them. They're not intellectually engaged, and maybe they can't be. Maybe they've lost so many steps that that's all there is, and I don't want that to happen to me. I don't know how I would avoid it, but I don't want that to happen to me. There's no good saying, well, you know, if you have enough money, you can avoid that, or if you have a close enough family, because a lot of those people, in fact, I'd say most of them have both those things, money and a close family. It happens anyway. I don't know. I don't know. That's the way that I worry about dying, is just outliving my life. That worries me greatly, but who knows? It might not happen. Let's see here. Question number 6. Your favorite book as a grade schooler? I'm afraid there wasn't one, BookTube. If we're talking about reading as a way to pass an idle hour, then it wasn't books that I read in grade school. It was that I pounded on people who did read books. I came to reading late, so I didn't have a favorite book as a grade schooler. Question number 7. What have your interactions with the police been like? Again, one has to wonder what Adrian is associating with libraries. But all of my interactions with police, the few that I've had, I know quite a few policemen, and in Boston, I look like a cop. They all look like the bulbous nose, the Irish Catholic face. But my interactions with police have always been a little bit on the nervous side, and never my own fault. Now, I know that all miscreants say that, but in my case, it's absolutely true. Back in the days when I used to fly, when I used to use commercial airliners like everybody does, before I learned enough about them to just say no, no, not ever again. Back when I used to use commercial airlines, I went through the same nightmares that everybody does. Long waits in line at ticket counters, long waits in line at baggage checks or whatever, or security or whatever. These were in the pre-9/11 days. And my encounters with police happened there, where I would be minding my own business, nose in a book, and all of a sudden I would see, I would just slump, because I would see that a ways down the terminal, there were 2 policemen coming who had drug-sniffing dogs with them. and usually, if the drug-sniffing dog was, for instance, a Doberman Pinscher or a German Shepherd, usually I could, with body language alone, I could sort of wave them off. I could say, I know what you want to do right now, and you know that I want it too, but you're on the job. Just don't do anything. But once in Chicago's O'Hare Airport and once in Boston's Logan Airport, I looked up and the drug-sniffing dog was a beagle. And the game was up. The game was up. The minute they got close enough to know that I was there, they were pulling on the leash, whole body wagging, running up to me, running right over the luggage they're supposed to be sniffing onto me, and then us elaborately face smooching and just loving it, every minute of it. And then, only then, when the first spasm of that was over, I would then have the cops to deal with, who would be, the cops in O'Hare took a normal approach. They said, I didn't have to point out to them. I would have, because I've had to do it a couple of times before. But I didn't have to point out to them. They sort of said, well, this is odd. She usually doesn't act this way. She's not trained to act this way. So there must be something wrong here. No need to worry yourself about anything. But the two cops in Boston, the one time that it happened with a beagle, were, I guess, bored or in some sort of Dirty Harry mode, and they just wanted to get all stiff and officious with me. I'm sorry, sir, the dog has singled you out. Wanted to search my luggage, wanted to search my person, and ordinarily, my answer to such people would be, that's absolutely fine if you show me a search warrant signed by a judge that has my name on it. Otherwise, you're assaulting me and trying to burglarize me. And if you try to do either one of those things, I'm going to defend myself exactly like I would on a side street. And if you injure me because I resisted you under those circumstances, then I'm going to sue you personally. And if you think that's trivial, you should meet my lawyer. But I didn't get that far in Boston. The two cops were taking an uppity tone with me, and I knew that it was going to go that way, and instead I sort of short-circuited things by saying, look, you know as well as I do your dog is not supposed to be behaving this way. You know as well as I do the problem here is the dog, in other words, not me. But if you don't believe that, then how about we prove it that it's the dog? What if, and I pointed across the terminal to a young woman who was behind the United Airlines counter taking tickets. So she had a line of people. No luggage, just standing there doing her job. I said, what if your dog were to run up to her? And immediately start demanding attention. And the two cops started to say, just buy the book, because they don't see you as human at all. They just started to say, buy the book. Well, sir, the dog is trained to sniff luggage. There's obviously some sort of problem here. And I didn't wait for them to finish. I just told the beagle, go over there and ask for a face smooch. And she did. She ran right over to the woman behind the counter and jumped up on her leg. The woman turned around and said, oh, aren't you cute? And the cops shut up, which is good, because that's just what I wanted them to do before I lose my temper. And the only other time I can think of a bad police encounter, at least in America, it was one time at the old Barnes & Noble in downtown Crossing, Boston, where I worked forever and ever, and I loved it there. But occasionally, because it was retail, I did occasionally have a bad day. And one day I was having such a bad day that when it came time for my lunch hour, and I'm already talking gibberish to a lot of you young people, but once upon a time, a long, long time ago, a retail job gave you a pension, a 401k, health coverage, and an hour for lunch. I know. Weird, isn't it? Like science fiction. But anyway, I got to my lunch hour and I just wanted relief. I left the building, and one of the first people I saw was a great big black-faced German Shepherd police dog walking with two policemen, and I was having such a rotten day that I ignored them completely, walked right up to the dog, squatted down, and smushed faces, and we were elaborately face-licking. And when we finally finished, I looked up, and the cops were dumbfounded and angry, and I got a stern talking to, and I didn't care. The dog and I both had guilty expressions on our faces, but I didn't care then because my day had already been rescued. But that's it. In America. Overseas, you have problems with cops all the time. That I've had problems with cops in many, many countries that aren't America, and there it's just simple bribery that's going to fix things. It's money that's the whole root of the thing. They single you out. They figure I've got a heating bill, and there's my heating bill. So I'm happy that in a lot of places, in Europe especially, I gave off such a non-touristy vibe that I was never approached in that way. But some places in the world, you're marked out just by skin color, or you're obviously a tourist, and there shakedowns are almost inevitable. And the only way, there's no good saying, well, the consulate will hear about this, or how dare you. The only way is just to pay. So that would be outside the United States. Inside the United States, though, never my fault. Always the dog's fault. Let's see here. Question number 8. What is your all-time favorite book cover? Well, I have many candidates, BookTube, but one is current. It's the Michael Katz translation of Crime and Punishment. I don't know what appeals to me about this cover. It could be the hands on the axe, or the stark red bars. I really don't know what aspect of this cover appeals to me, but nevertheless, it does. And question number 9 is, how many places have you lived? But oddly enough, question number 9 is not, how many places have you lived? Tell us about their libraries. It's just, how many places have you lived? But anyway, because of the tag, I counted up, and I got to 15. I don't think I've left any place out. I actually wrote them down so I wouldn't, because I always forget one or two places. First is Boston, of course. Then Nashua, New Hampshire. Austin, Texas. Hermosa Beach, back when ordinary mortals could afford to do that. Kuala Lumpur, before air conditioning. A little town on the coast of Ireland. A little town smack dab in the middle of India. A rackety, old, wonderful apartment in Venice that, for all I know, is probably a billion-dollar condo today. Then Manhattan, a very long time ago. And then Washington, D.C., with nights and weekends spent in a close suburb of Washington, D.C. That was also a very long time ago. Where does that leave us? Oh, Iowa, of course. Not just Iowa City, Iowa, the home of the Hawkeyes and the University of Iowa, but also in lots of other places in Iowa, much smaller places in Iowa. The beautiful island of St. Lucia, paradise on earth, where I will never be again. Göttingen, Germany, wonderful time, wonderful people. Got to know the German people well. It's not particularly easy to do, but I strongly advise it. And Rotterdam. That would be the last place. That'd be 15. And there, aside from St. Lucia, there are fond memories attached to all of them. And then question number 10 is tag 11 booktubers that you like or admire, and in a classic Adrian note, say why you admire them. And I think I got to 11. The first one, of course, would be Olive at Abookolive, whose professionalism makes the rest of us look kind of shoddy. It's just a warm, welcoming, totally smart booktube channel. Absolutely, I'm assuming that anyone who watches this channel watches her. Then the next one, number 2, would be Mark at Richardson Reads, the owner of one of BookTube's more impressive libraries, and a head librarian, I think, BookTube's only head librarian. Then number 3 would be Adam, MementoMori, our dark prince, who leads unsuspecting people astray by luring them in with dude bro authors and then hoping that they forget that he also reads tons of authors who are completely great and aren't dude bro authors. But Adam has an odd distinction of being a booktuber who just gets more and more popular even though he never makes videos. I don't know how that works. I just wait for a day and I hear about it. Then my sister from another mister, Sarah at Steeped in Books, one of my favorite booktube channels, and all about romance novels. I mean, she throws a fig leaf here and there to non-romance novels, but her heart is clearly in the romance genre, and I love it. And she's also a booktuber after my own heart, which is, I think you might end up, to your horror, seeing in the flesh. I think she's planning on visiting Boston in 2019. But she's a booktuber after my own heart, in that this whole idea of being nervous on camera, I don't think she gets it any more than I do. We both just crack each other up the whole time we're making videos. Then number 5 would be Shawn, the book Maniac, a Saskatchewan expat who lives in Japan with a haughty husband, and who covers a huge number of books on his channel. Doesn't cover all of them from start to finish, because he's also our Empress of Bailings and likes to bail on books if they displease him, which is a habit about books that took me a long time to get used to, and I would scorn it, even in a booktuber I love as much as Shawn, if he weren't such a sensitive and involved reader of the stuff that he doesn't bail on. So I know that it's not. Ordinarily, I would say bailing. Okay, well, that's obviously a function of being shallow, but it's not true in Shawn's case. So it makes it bearable, and his channel is a lot of fun to watch. And then number 6 is new. All the rest of these people have healthy subscriber counts. I think that Sarah just recently topped 1,000 subscribers. I think Mark at Richardson Reads just recently topped 1,000 subscribers. This next person has barely any subscribers, and I'd like to change that. I'll leave a link to all these people down below. But you have actually heard this person's name before, because his name is Nathan Knapp, and he's an author. We have another author on BookTube, and he wrote a book, a self-published, very well-designed, futuristic police procedural that I reviewed on this channel. I almost never review books on this channel of any kind. It doesn't be from St. Martin's. I still wouldn't do it. But I reviewed his book at your behest. And if I remember, I'll leave a link to that video below as well. And I think he's been thinking about joining BookTube for a while, but he finally did. He finally joined BookTube. And he is currently a scofflaw. of course, because when you join BookTube, you do the BookTube newbie tag. That's how the rest of us know you're there. if you don't do that, we can't even see you. but nevertheless, the videos that he is making are long discussions of books, which, you know, that's going to certainly, when we're talking about strip cover lit, he's going to be right on their wavelength. so I'll leave a link to him down below. We nabbed another author. What we need to do is make him emotionally dependent on us before he realizes what a pack of losers we are and decides to decamp. We want to nab him while he's still vulnerable. Let's see who we got. Oh, yes, number 8 would be Joe, the retired book nerd. Who's absolutely, she's been a delight for me to watch on BookTube since long before I had my own BookTube channel. Jess at Garden Scriptorium would be next. Another BookTuber who doesn't make as many videos as I would like, but she's a working academic. And so, like in Mark's case, it's amazing to me that she makes as many videos as she does. But you can tell that she is a great teacher right down to her DNA. You can tell that by the way she talks about the books. And by the way, sometimes in her videos, she seems to be interrogating herself about her own reactions to what she's reading. So wonderful. So wonderful. Then next person would be another person in the Adam mold of someone who's very popular on BookTube, only doesn't make videos. I know you're thinking Caleb, because Caleb is the most popular BookTuber who never makes videos. But no, I'm talking about Wilson Shugart, who occasionally pops up to make a video, but is usually gone, except in your comments field, where he will invariably leave the best comment of all the comments that you get on any video. But does he make videos anymore of himself? No, apparently not. And last but certainly not least, would be Britta. I'm sure you all, like Olive, I'm sure you all subscribe to Britta. But her channel is a treat, an absolute treat. She has regular features that she does, regular recurring video themes that she does. I love that. And reads very widely, including a lot of new releases. And as with so many of the most opinionated booktubers, I often find myself enjoying the videos more of hers when I disagree with her than when I agree with her. so I'll leave links to all these people. I strongly recommend them all, and I hope they all do this tag and just keep the tag love going. But anyway, that's it. That is the Nosy Librarian tag. I want to thank Adrian for tagging me. That was a lot of fun. And I'll wrap this up for now on this pouring rain day. Honestly feels like someone is outside the window knocking. That's how hard the rain is hitting the windows. I'm just going to have to wait for it to let up before I take my little schnauzer out, because she will categorically refuse to go out in this weather. So I'll just have to wait. Sooner or later, it's bound to let up, and then we'll go out. But in the meantime, we'll see each other again. So thank you, BookTube.